I'm on the field today with Bill McAdams of McAdams Consulting. Bill has been our private pest and disease consultant now for over 7 years. And I think we were one of your first customers when you started your new consulting business. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Well, actually what I do is I work with growers, I work with landscapers, I look for insects and diseases in their tree inventories. I recommend methods of control, timing, and then monitor their successes of control. My objective is for them to be able to control the pests and diseases with as little chemicals as possible.
Recently, you just wrote an article titled, "Does Quality Really Matter Anymore?" And when I read it, I thought, thank you. Finally, a great professional opinion that really sums up the growing problem that we're having with poor quality plant material just being dumped into our landscape. I'd like to read a little bit from your article just to kind of set the stage. Bill writes, "The last few years have been nothing short of brutal for the nursery industry. As prospective buyers call area growers and ask for plant availabilities, the growers are confronted with grow it and sell it pricing comparisons, which are completely irrespective of the basic attributes of plant quality. As area growers try to survive the current economic climate, the question's beginning to arise. Does quality really matter anymore? Should we worry about branch structures? Should we worry if trees have good central leaders? Should we worry about correct root systems? Should we care if insects and diseases are present? We all know the correct answers." So Bill, you wrote that, that's fantastic. What are the correct answers?
The correct answer is yes, quality does matter. It's really important, especially the root system. You got to have a well-balanced, good structure root system. You also need to have a good top structure to a tree in which you have a strong central leader branching system. And you also want to have trees that are free of insect and disease problems. It's all parts of the elements of quality, and it's really, really important for growers, landscapers, and the clients to understand that.
Well, let's talk a little bit. We're standing in a block of State Street maples right now. Maybe can you demonstrate what you're talking about in a quality plant?
Sure. What you have is like your bud graft union down here where you see the rougher bark, and then here's where the original scion cutting was placed or grafted onto it. This was a wound site. They have it above the ground. It heals, and you have your select cultivar of a tree or shrub, whatever you're growing. And so it's important to have that above the ground. And then what you want is a nice central strong leader that goes up, and so you don't have forked branching and that you don't have challenging branching to your top leader structure. So you want a good strong central leader. Also important is to make sure that your roots are balanced. When they plant these plants, they put them in the soil to make sure that the roots are balanced and so that they grow evenly and so that they're not skewed to one side, which causes what we call J-rooting and root strangulation problems.
Thanks. I'd like to help you get the word out about some services that you can provide to our industry. I have a really wide base of customers. I have landscape contractors, municipalities, garden centers, even local homeowners. Other than the services that you provide to nurseries like myself, what kind of services can you offer to our industry?
Pretty much I can, whatever they would need for what my service would allow. I'm basically a specialist of insect and disease problems on landscape trees and shrubs, and I work with municipalities, I work with landscapers, I work with a number of different entities that deal with trees and shrubs, and homeowners, and depending, all different types of situations I get into. But primarily at this point, I've been working with landscapers and with commercial growers, and so pretty much I'm pretty well open to working with just about anybody that would have tree problems.
Okay, you mentioned landscape contractors. What do you do for landscape contractors?
Well, a lot of times I'll go in if they have problems on site. They'll ask me to come in and identify what the problems are of their trees. Sometimes they get into disputes where they'll have trees come in and they'll begin to not grow like they should be, and you'll have the client notice it, and then they get into a dispute as to what happened. And then sometimes I come in and look at the trees and give an evaluation as to what happened with the trees and why the problem, the decline in the health was occurring.
Okay. All right, we're going to end with 3 quick tips. I know you're based out of Iowa, and you do a radio show, right,
yes,
in Iowa?
Yes, I do. With WMT,
yeah.
I do it with another landscaper out there.
Okay, and people call in and answer tree questions, so I thought this might be a fun way to end our video interview. A quick tip for a landscape contractor.
Landscape contractors should understand when they're buying a tree or a shrub that it should be of quality and not get into the comparison of the lowest price will make it. You need to be understanding that you need a good root structure, you need a good top structure, and you need to have a tree that's healthy and free of insect and diseases. The cheapest tree is not always the best buy to put in your client's project.
Okay, how about a quick tip for a municipality or a park district?
Municipalities shouldn't get caught into the numbers of understanding that for X amount of dollars you get X amount of trees. They ought to be understanding quality is important, longevity depends on the quality. So if you can buy X amount of trees for a price, and you might have trees that would be maybe half the amount of trees for that same price, it might be well worth it to buy the trees of higher quality and lesser trees than it would be to buy a bunch of trees that don't have good quality. It's important to understand the elements of quality before you buy it, and to understand that just because the total cost is down doesn't mean that the cost of total maintenance won't increase later if you have trees that aren't very good with quality.
Okay, and then finally, how about a quick tip for a homeowner, which would also speak to garden centers that are advising homeowners?
A really important tip for homeowners is to first off look at the site that you want to put the tree in. Don't prejudge the site by the tree that you want to put in there. Understand what the site is, what the soil structure is. Is it prone to flooding? Is it in a site that you have high clay, high sand? Is it prone to having roadside salting exposure? And then select the tree that can tolerate the soil in that site. But don't prejudge the site and say, I'm going to put this tree in that site without understanding what the site is like. You got to do a site evaluation basically to understand what the elements of that site are before you plant the tree species. Make sure that the site is conducive for the growth of that tree.
Thanks a lot for coming out today. Your expertise has been invaluable to Jamie and I in our nursery, and you're a great asset to our industry, and I really appreciate you coming by and talking to my customers.
Thank you very much, Becky.
Thank you.
Glad to do it.